Good morning, welcome back. Well, I should say good whatever time of day it is for you. It's morning here, but welcome back to Seed and Sparrow Homestead. My name is Kelsey, if you are new here, and we have a very full day. We've got lots of activities planned, but before we get to activities, I have a job that needs done, and that is preserving all of the strawberries that have been sitting in my fridge. I've got another big bowl in here. So I've got these two bowls here I need to do something with today. All of these I picked from my own garden, and I should get another few rounds of about this much. I have probably upwards of 250 strawberry plants. So lots of strawberry preserving is happening. So I'm trying to think of the best ways to serve our family in preserving these. Last year I did whole strawberries in syrup. I did strawberry lemonade concentrate. I did a few different jams. I did a strawberry smooch, which is flavored with maple syrup, and that is supposed to be more of like a spread, but it turned out really liquidy. It did not set up, and we didn't really love the flavor in that one. And then I freeze dried a whole bunch of strawberries. So we didn't love the strawberries in syrup. They're whole strawberries, and any time that you can strawberries, they just turn to mush. It's not my favorite way to eat them. The strawberry lemonade concentrate was good, but we just don't drink a ton of juice. We are a water drinking family here, or raw milk. So while the juice is good, I don't need to do a whole bunch more of that. So I'm thinking this year, I recently decided that I want to start making our own ice cream. I love ice cream, but I can only have raw dairy because of the enzymes still present in that. It's just easier for me to digest it. So I'd like to make some of the toppings and flavorings for homemade ice cream. I think I'm going to do just some strawberry syrup with the whole strawberries in the syrup. We didn't care for the strawberries themselves, but this syrup was delicious. So I think that would be great to flavor ice cream. I think it'd be good over pastries, over pancakes, waffles, French toast, that sort of stuff. So I think we would use that. And then I'm also going to do another topping for ice cream. I'm going to do a sundae in a jar. So that is strawberries and raspberries and chocolate liqueur. It sounded really yummy. So I think with this first batch of strawberries, I'm gonna do those two recipes. And then after that, I think all of the strawberries that I harvest, I'm just gonna end up freeze drying. I can freeze dry them whole, sliced, diced, and I can use them that way. I could put them in trail mix, in granola, in oatmeal, or I can rehydrate them for baking in pastries and pies. You can just do a whole bunch of things with them, and that really preserves their nutrition really well. So that's what I think we're gonna do. I don't need any more jams and jellies. I'm still working through a ton from the last 2 years. So I'm just trying to make sure to use these in the best way for my family. So today I'm gonna take you through those two canning recipes, and we might be freeze drying some as well. We'll see what we're left over with. I am getting today's recipe from the National Center for Home Food Preservation. It's on their website. It's nchfp.uga.edu, and I will link that in the description. But this is just a berry syrup recipe. You can use any berries that you want. You can use cherries, you can use grapes, all the same process for this syrup. So you can make it with whatever fruit you want. So the first thing I need to do, I need to wash these off. If you're new to preserving strawberries, don't hold them, don't take the top off and then wash them. They're gonna get really waterlogged. So wash them before you start cutting the tops off. And then I need to cut the tops off. And I need to measure out 6.5 cups for this first recipe. I believe one batch of this syrup, where is it? Will yield 9 half pints. So like the jelly jar size. And I think that would be good for our family of 4 for like a meal using as syrup. And I'm not sure how much I would put into a batch of ice cream, but that seems like a good size. So let's just get to washing these strawberries. So my strawberries came in from my garden pretty clean, and a good rinse is really all they need, just making sure to get rid of any little bits of dirt or little critters that came inside with them. I always try to avoid submerging strawberries in water. I just find that they do get really waterlogged. They do sell little hulling tools you can find on Amazon. I don't actually own one of those. I find using my thumb works just fine, and these are really fresh, ripe strawberries, so they're super soft and it comes off very easily. I also don't really like using a knife. I think it takes off too much, so I'm just gonna keep working here and get all of these hulled. All right, let's see if I have done enough. We need 6.5 cups of hulled strawberries, and there's a leaf on my finger that won't come off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. All right, we've got strawberries here in our pot. I'm gonna get them on a burner, and we are gonna get these to a boil. I'm gonna crush them here in the pan, and then I'm gonna reduce the temperature and just keep them at a simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. At a boil, so we're gonna turn it down to a simmer, and we're gonna make sure to keep stirring these. I'm just gonna use my masher here. And we wanna make sure they are crushed really well to get all of their juice out of them. What we are after is their juice. We are not going to be using the pulp. All right, so our strawberries have simmered for about 5 minutes. They're all soft, the juice is out of them, and now I'm gonna start straining them. This is a nut milk bag here. You can use a cheesecloth. I like these. I just think they work really well. I get them off Amazon. I can link them down in the description for you. So I'm going to transfer my strawberries into this bag here, and I'm gonna let all of the juices strain through. It's probably gonna take a little while, so when that's done, we'll get back to canning. So I just have the bag tied here to my kitchen cabinet, and I'm just gonna let it drain over this bowl for a good while until all of the juices have strained through. Okay, so that 6.5 cups of strawberries was supposed to get me anywhere from 4.5 to 5 cups of juice. That did not happen. I went back over the recipe just to make sure that when measuring they weren't already supposed to be crushed, and it does not say that. It says to crush them once you put them in the pan. So I measured correctly. I thought these strawberries were pretty juicy, and I mean they are, but I guess it just depends. So I only ended up with like not even 3 cups of juice. So the recipe says that you should have at least 4.5 cups of juice, so that's what I'm focusing on, and I am just going to boil and simmer some more strawberries and crush them until I end up with enough juice for the recipe. Okay, it is much later in the day. I ended up using about 9 cups of strawberries total to get 4.5 cups of juice, and what I did was I just let it strain through that bag while we were gone. We went and we had some errands to run, so that's why it's a bit later. So now I have my juice finally. I am gonna get that. It's here in my pot, and I need to mix in 6 3/4 cups of sugar. It's a lot of sugar. This is just going to be a treat. I don't believe it's safe to omit the sugar or to use honey or maple syrup, so we're sticking to the recipe here, and we've got our juice and the sugar is going in now. Sugar, while used to flavor the recipe, it's also used to help preserve and to help a recipe gel. So it is not safe to just go ahead and alter the amount of sugar in here. I know there are safe tested recipes out there, like if you use Pomona's pectin, they have a whole lot of recipes using low sugar, and there are some other recipes out there that will use honey or maple syrup. This is just not one of them, so if you don't want to use this much sugar, I recommend going and finding another safe recipe where it uses something different. But like I said, this is just a treat. We only eat it every once in a while, so consuming this sugar doesn't really concern me. All right, so this is gonna come to a boil, and then once it does, we're gonna turn it down to low and allow it to simmer for 1 minute. After it has finished simmering, I'm going to remove it from the heat and skim off all of the foam on top before putting it into the jars. Moving on to assembly here, got all my tools ready. I have clean, warm jars. I have new lids washed in warm, soapy water. Got my rings ready to go. So we are gonna fill all these jars up to 1/2 inch of headspace. 4 Jars was kind enough to reach out to me a few months back and asked if I'd be willing to try out some of their products, to which I agreed, and I have been trying out their lids now for the past 2 months, and I'm actually really surprised at how much I like them. They're very well made, and I haven't had any issues with jars not sealing. They all seal every time, and I've used them in water bath canning and in pressure canning, and I do love that they are a small family-owned business, and everyone I've spoken to has been so kind. I am honestly very hesitant to share affiliate deals. I don't ever want to seem as though I am being salesy, but if it's something that I truly love using and I feel it can be helpful to you and could save you some money on something that you already need to buy, then why not? So if you want to look into 4 Jars and see if it's something that you would like, I know the best deal is to buy the lids in bulk to save on cost and shipping. So if you want, you can find my affiliate code down in the description for 10% off. This was a pretty sticky mess, so I always wipe the rims, but this time I had to do a little bit extra work. I just have some white vinegar here on a paper towel, and I am just making sure to clean these up really well so we don't have any sticky residue coming between our jars and our lids. Making sure our lid is well centered before adding on our band and tightening to fingertip tight. We're gonna get all of these into the canner, bring this up to a boil, and once it is boiling, we set the timer for 10 minutes, keeping it at a full rolling boil the whole time. While we wait for the canner to come to a boil and to start the processing time there, I'm gonna get to work on the second recipe, the sundae in a jar. So I need some crushed strawberries and crushed raspberries. We're gonna need 2.5 cups of crushed strawberries and 1 1/3 cup crushed raspberries. And I think it says here for the strawberries, you're gonna need about 4 cups of whole strawberries, and for the raspberries, you need about 2 cups of whole raspberries. So I am going to get to work on crushing those up and measuring them out and getting them into my pot. This recipe requires 6 cups of sugar, so we're gonna get that in here before getting it onto the stovetop. We are going to bring this mixture up to a hard boil, a rolling boil, one that you cannot stir down. Once it gets to that point, we're going to add in our liquid pectin, and we are going to constantly stir that at a rolling boil for 1 minute. Our syrup is all finished in the canner, so proper procedure there is to turn off the heat, remove the lid, and wait 5 minutes at least before removing your jars. Not sure you're gonna be able to see because of the steam, but I am stirring it and it is still boiling. It is not stopping. So now we are ready to stir in our packet of liquid pectin. That's going in. So I'm gonna get this stirring here, set my timer for 1 minute. All right, I'm gonna grab my chocolate liqueur. It's 1/3 cup. And that is going in. Stir that. I'm going to remove this from the heat, turn my burner off. Make sure that's all combined really well, and then I am going to skim off this foam and we are going to get this into some jars. The correct amount of headspace for our Sundae in a jar recipe is 1/4 inch. The timing here actually worked out perfectly. As soon as my syrup was ready to come out of the canner, my Sundae in a jar was ready to go in. So we're going to do a little switcheroo here, get the Sundae in a jar into the canner. It will process at a full boil for 10 minutes. It is the next morning. I always end up leaving anything that I can just out overnight to sit to make sure it seals. So everything I sealed, you can kind of just tell if the lid is concave, and then I just lightly tap over them after looking just to double check. Then I'm gonna remove all of the rings. I'm gonna do a seal test by holding it just by the lid itself. Then you know it's a good seal. Just make sure you don't do it like over the floor, because I've had some before where the seal was not that great and I lost all the contents of a jar that I could have just put in the fridge as leftovers. So don't do that. So everything's sealed beautifully. I'm gonna clean it all up and label and get it down in the pantry. And if you have any recommendations for an ice cream maker, go ahead and drop that in the comments for me. I have been researching a little bit, looking at a few different ones. I'm just not totally sure which one I want to go with. So if you have one that you like, I'd love to know. So that way I can use some of this in some ice cream this summer. But I've got plans for some pastries, maybe on top of crepes. It's just a fun thing to have in the pantry. It just mixes it up a little bit. A treat here and there. So I'm gonna get these all washed up and put them down in the pantry. Now that that is all said and done, I set about freeze drying some, but I used quite a bit of what I had picked, and then what I didn't use my kids ate through yesterday. So I did go out and I picked some more, but I probably only have about, I don't know, 3 or 4 cups worth in here. So it's not really enough to warrant running the freeze dryer. I could just slice these up and freeze them flat and then put them in a bag until I have enough for a freeze dryer run. But I was thinking I might do some fruit leather for the kiddos. I think they would enjoy that. And I know I'll have more strawberries come in like the next week or 2, and we'll just freeze dry those. So we're gonna make some fruit leather. This recipe just requires some lemon juice, some honey, and fruit of your choice. So I'm gonna hull these, and I am going to get all my ingredients into a blender, blend that up, pour it onto a parchment lined baking sheet, and it's just gonna go in the oven, low temp, for about 4 to 6 hours until the center is no longer tacky. So I've got 3 cups of strawberries here in my blender. You can use fresh or frozen that have been thawed. I added in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. You can use fresh or bottled. And I added in about 3 tablespoons of honey. got my cookie sheet here. Obviously, you're going to need one with a lip because this is liquid. I've got it lined with some parchment paper. And I am just gonna pour this mixture in here. Got my puree here all spread out. So this is gonna go into my oven at the lowest temp it can possibly go. For me, that's 200 degrees. I know some ovens can go like 170 or something like that. So as low as your oven will go, we're gonna put this in there and we are gonna watch it. It's probably gonna take at least 4 to 6 hours, but you'll know it's ready when the center is no longer tacky or sticky. Here is the fruit leather, all finished. It took right about 6 hours. I cut off the excess parchment paper but left it on the back, and I'm just gonna cut this into strips, roll them up, and store them in a mason jar. And I can say all of these things turned out so delicious. We tried all of them, so super happy with how they turned out. Thank you all for joining me in my kitchen again here at Seed and Sparrow Homestead. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a blessed week, and I will see you next time. Take care.